So, my fall 2022 intuitive eating group coaching is coming to a close. And recently, I asked the women that are in the group just for some feedback. One of the questions I asked was, what would you say to someone who might be considering enrolling in group coaching for the January group, which enrollment will be opening sooner than later? And got some amazing responses, and I wanted to share one here that really just was my heart in a response. Here's what Carrie had to say. She said, I would tell them to go for it. I haven't regretted signing up for group coaching for a second. I think all the information is broken down into really easy to process segments, and there is plenty of time to work on each area. I can't believe how far I have come in such a short space of time. If you had told me before I started how much better I would feel and how much more comfortable I felt around food, then I wouldn't have believed you. Jen is such a kind and nurturing person who's always able to see the heart of any issue you are having and has a solution for any problem you can throw at her. I would recommend the group coaching to anyone who is interested in working on their relationship with food. Now, if you know me, you know when I first read that, I cried because that's my heart. That is my heart. And I know it's hard to see how far you can come in a short period of time, especially if maybe you've read the book and you're following all the intuitive eating accounts and you listen to this podcast and maybe some others and you're like, I'm not seeing that kind of progress. I'm not feeling as comfortable around food as I want to. It's because of kind of what Carrie's saying here. Sometimes having someone by your side who knows, who can help speed up that process for you, who can take you there, who can open up those doors that you need to work on, those thought areas, those things about food and your body and all of that, it can make all the difference. Now, why am I sharing this with you? This is definitely not to boast. I'm not that kind of person. But I do have something to share with you. Before we dive into this episode, my VIP early access waitlist for the January 2023 group is officially open. Now, I'm sharing this in just a handful of places, and the podcast is one of them. Now, you may have been on the fence. You may have been doing all the things, just like Carrie had been doing. Most of my clients, they've read the book. They even tried the workbook. They've done all the things and just have not been able to achieve that peace with food and their body that they truly desire. I'm going to recommend highly you scroll into the show notes wherever you're listening to this episode and join the VIP waitlist. Now, I'm going to also share with you, there's going to be some exclusive pricing and bonus options coming just for the waitlist. So head into the show notes, click VIP waitlist, or you can go to healthcoachforlife.com/group coaching. Now, that was all lovely. What a way to start. But let's dive into this episode right now. Welcome to the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I am an intuitive eating counselor and I'm also a mom to 4. This podcast is not just for mamas, it's for all women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, increase their body trust, and confidence in all of her choices. I believe this show is going to shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. No matter the episode, I want you to walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. So whether you're taking a walk, washing the dishes, or carting kids around, let's dive into the latest episode on the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. Whether you're new to intuitive eating, like brand new, maybe you just found this podcast, maybe you're just starting to explore intuitive eating, or you've been on this journey for a while, I really do think this episode is going to be helpful. I thought it would be fun. Of course, I find stuff like this fun. Healing your relationship with food and your body, I do find fun. Like, I'm just going to be honest. Anything to do with that, yes. It's on my fun list. Oh my gosh. I'm laughing at myself, which again, if you're new here, you'll probably get used to that after a while. It's one of the like biggest feedback things I get about the podcast is people love that I'm laughing at myself, and it's just life here. Okay, so back to the fun of intuitive eating. I know it's the holiday season, like period, end of sentence. Like that's where we are now. And I thought it would be interesting to look at the principles, the 10 principles of intuitive eating from a holiday lens. Now, if you're like, 10 principles, what? Like, what are you talking about? I want to let you know, and I'm going to link this in the show notes too. I did an entire series diving into each of the principles. It started on episode 133 and went through kind of that overview, what is and is not intuitive eating, and then each principle got its own episode. It was an amazing, fun summer series that I did, and I also created the ultimate guide to intuitive eating. I'll link all of that in the show notes. So if you're like, I'm not even sure what you're talking about, I want to dive, deeper into a principle, head there. But for now, let's talk about the holidays as we look at the principles of intuitive eating. So, principle number 1 is reject the diet mentality. Now, this can feel really difficult to do over the holidays. Why? Because all of the messaging, and I'm talking all of it, every ad, everything on social media, all the influencers, health and wellness, all of that is talking about January. They're talking about the diet starts January 2nd. They might give you January 1st, but it's definitely starting in January. Get all the food in while you can. Have you heard of that concept of the Last Supper? Get everything in. Eat all the things during the holidays because guess what happens in January? It's all over. So if we're going to reject the diet mentality during the holiday season, we're not playing into that. We are no longer thinking about the diet starting in January. Now, that could stop you right in your tracks. I absolutely get that because it's the pattern you have followed maybe for 10, 20, 30 years. That get everything in, eat whatever I want, enjoy all my favorite foods because you know what's going to happen in January? I'm eating twigs and bark and leaves. Like, that's it. I can't eat anything. And we all know how that goes. How long does that last? How long has it lasted you before? So when you think about that diet starting, it actually causes a whole slew of problems for you with food during the holidays and of course beyond, but this is our lens for right now. So going into this holiday season, the events, the parties, all of the food, the abundance, all of it. What if you say no? There is no diet starting in January. I'm not following this pattern that does not work. You might stop dead in your tracks there. Now, I know I mentioned it before we even started this episode. Group coaching is starting in January. And why do I do one in January every single year for the last several years? Because I know the messages you are hearing. I know the patterns that start in January. I know the guilt and the shame that starts. So I have another way to completely reject the diet mentality, make peace with food. Now, let's dive into principle number 2, though, which is honoring your hunger. Now, when we talk about honoring your hunger during the holiday season, I want to be specific. So, how often do you withhold eating? Like you put off, like withhold, I don't know if that was the right word, but you put off eating. You don't eat because you know you have this party, you have this event, you have this place you're going to that's going to have so much food, delicious things. You're like, well, then I'm just not going to eat so I can save up. Save up to eat. Gosh, Weight Watchers is really good at conditioning for that, but I think any diet is really, really toxic in this way. That we create this mentality of if there's going to be all these foods, I better not eat. But what happens when we don't honor our hunger and we show up at these events? We feel out of control. We feel bad about ourselves because we're so out of control around the food And then we usually, and I say usually, I'm going to say like 99% of the time, that's a Jen statistic. We overeat because we're so freaking hungry. Here's how you honor your hunger instead of putting this off and waiting till the event. Eat normally. Eat normally with intent to honor those hunger signals. The third principle, make peace with food. Now, again, I've said this before. I said it in the series. There's different orders, but I'm just going to go through it as I was taught in the Intuitive Eating Professionals course that I did with Evelyn Tribole, the co-author of the book. Make peace with food, number 3. Now, this one again, we're looking at this from a holiday lens. What foods do you not feel very peaceful around? What ones do you feel like you have these uncontrollable cravings? If you just thought of like cookies, sugar, pies, like any baked goods, of course you did. Of course you did. It could even be like bread. For me, oh my gosh, mashed potatoes. Like I felt out of control because I didn't have peace with food. So how can you walk out this principle during the holidays? You can remind yourself that there is no morality to food. Let go of good and bad. You might need to let go of healthy, unhealthy, that those terms get you all caught up in, I can't eat this. What about taking out words like can't and shouldn't? That's how you'll make peace with food. You might need to take a big, deep breath and then allow these foods in. And I know this one's another difficult one during the holidays because there's so much. It usually results in us going into this Last Supper overeating, this guilt because we don't have peace with food. Now, this could actually be your signal of, wow, okay, I can honor my hunger. I'm really walking out these other principles. I don't want to go into this diet mentality again, but I don't have peace with food. And that's an area that even shows you like, I want to work on that piece. Principle 4, challenging the food police. Now I'm going to specifically name some food police. There's food police in your head. Absolutely. You are policing yourself all the way, right? It's constant of don't do that. You shouldn't have that. That's not good for you. This has too many calories. That's bad. Like you're policing yourself. But during the holidays, you might find you have food police in your life. People making comments about what you're eating, how much you're eating, when you're eating. Oh my goodness, if you went back for seconds. Now, when I say challenge the food police, I'm not saying get into a full-on brawl at the family dinner, but maybe you need to set boundaries. Maybe you need to do some work that when they say it, it does not penetrate. And you're like, that's your issue. But that you do not have to feel guilty for eating. You do not have to get into that complete spiral. Do you know that spiral of, well, maybe I shouldn't go back. Maybe I'm not really hungry. I don't know what's going on with my body because someone made a comment. So challenging the food police might look like setting boundaries with what you allow other people to say, to comment on what you are eating, when you're eating, how much you're eating. Whew, that one gets me. Principle 5 is discovering the satisfaction factor. Now, there's a lot of pleasure and satisfaction with all foods. I think you can just find satisfaction and really should be eating foods that bring you satisfaction only. But if we think about the holiday and holiday foods, I think we really do think about pleasure and satisfaction. But oftentimes, that satisfaction gets diminished when we don't have peace with food, when we're feeling guilty. So when we think about satisfaction, I want to invite some mindfulness. Just notice what you're tasting. Do you like it? Does it taste delicious? Notice the texture, the temperature. Maybe you can even like pinpoint ingredients in that first bite. To help you really like press into satisfaction during the holidays, pause for a moment. Notice all the things that this food you love, the food that really is delicious, notice what it does for your palate. Number 6. Number 6 always goes hand in hand with honoring our hunger, which is number 2 that we just went over, but feeling your fullness. Now, if you have not honored your hunger, this one's a tough one because it's really hard to even notice your fullness if you've been putting off hunger. That's why I said they go hand in hand. And we have all these foods around us. So if we haven't made peace with food, again, it's hard to feel our fullness. I don't know if you noticed this, but these are also intertwined. How do you feel your fullness during the holidays? Slow down, take a pause, notice, how is my body feeling? Have I had enough? Now, it can be really difficult if you haven't made peace with food to say, yes, I'm going to honor my fullness here. I just notice it. I'm going to respect my body because I feel like I can't have this food ever again. So you might even need to, as you're feeling your fullness, remind yourself, yes, I can. I can have this food again. I can enjoy this whenever I want to. That might even make feeling your fullness, noticing when you've had enough. I always say, like, notice when you're no longer hungry, right? That is fullness. And you feel comfortable and at ease. Remind yourself, I can come back and have more. I can make this dish again. All right, number 7, cope with your emotions with kindness. I think we can all agree there can be high emotions during the holidays for a variety of reasons. Whether it's stress from the people you're around, stress from all the food you're around, traveling, money, spending all the money that's happening, right? Like deadlines, fitting in all the busyness. If you have kid activities, if you have, baking that has to get done and you're supposed to provide this, or maybe you're hosting people over. And I mean, emotions can be everywhere. And so can anxiety, loneliness, boredom, anger. I mean, hello, lots of triggers this time of the year. And if you've been in this pattern of using food to cope, we want to be able to step away from that. It's not that we don't use it. However, you probably know it doesn't help. It doesn't actually work in the long term. It might be a slight distraction, it might numb you out, but it doesn't solve what you need it to. It doesn't actually address the emotion. So I'm going to encourage you to be kind with yourself, compassionate with yourself. Maybe make a list, is something I always suggest, of the emotions you feel most often that you struggle with and use food to cope. Write something else. Come up with a proactive plan of how to deal with those emotions. All right, number 8, respecting your body. Now, this one is so involved, so I'm gonna really just kind of condense it here. Respecting your body through the holidays. This could look like the clothing you decide to wear, what you need to do to prepare if you're traveling, and it can also talk about what your body needs regarding sleep, how you talk to yourself, when it comes to movement, which is the 9th principle, but how does your body need you to show respect, right? What is it you need to do to feel at peace with your body? Even respecting your body goes back to that principle 1 about rejecting diet. If you're constantly thinking my body is a problem, that I need to change the size of my body, it's hard to show it respect. It is. So how can you show your body respect through the holidays? All right, I already mentioned it, but number 9 is about movement. It's about moving your body. I do believe that our bodies are created to move. I mean, we have these joints and muscles, these bones, like they want to move. But fitting in these regimented exercises, right? Like I have to fit in a workout when I'm traveling. I have to do all these things. I should be doing this. There's that word. Ugh, let's just do away with it. I'm going to make principle number 11 of intuitive eating. Never use the word should. No. But what if you shift your focus during the holidays to moving when it just feels good, when it feels easy to incorporate that? Now, maybe it's for stress relief. I always say pack your walking shoes if you're traveling to see family. You might need to get out of the house and just take a break. What if it's just feeling good to start your day and that's what you need to kind of center yourself? you're probably moving your body a lot more than you even give yourself any credit for, especially if you're doing all the things this time of the year. So maybe movement for you is just taking a moment to acknowledge just how much you're already moving your body, from cleaning the house to baking to, going on errands and these events and all of that. Maybe you're like me and you're rocking it out dancing to Christmas songs already. All movement counts. What does your body need? What does it want this time of the year? All right, last one. Honoring your health with gentle nutrition. Now, of course, this is the 10th principle for a reason. And you might say, I'm not anywhere near thinking about that. Jen, I'm still stuck on rejecting diet mentality or trying to honor my hunger. I haven't made peace with food. I get that. But I do want to present this to you, that even during the holidays, honoring our health with what we're eating is still a value that we hold as intuitive eaters. That there's balance and variety. That as much as I love baked goods and all the yummy stuff, I also enjoy the vegetables that are in season this time of the year. I want to have my plate. When I say my plate, I'm really thinking like my entire day of eating. Like that's really what it is. That really it encompasses everything. That it encompasses things that make me feel so good, high nutrient value, lots of energy, and also that I have things that are maybe lower in nutrients, but also delicious and satisfying. We can't get so caught up or use food to punish ourselves. Like, how often has food been used as punishment? That, oh, I ate all these baked goods, I had all this sugar stuff, I had all these carbs. So then the next day, I'm like, again, I'm back to twigs and leaves and, I can't really eat anything. And then how do you feel? What ends up happening? Usually this ends up in this cycle of like binge-like behavior. Honoring your health with gentle nutrition should just be that all year long, gentle. And again, I just want to be clear, this one is harder to incorporate when really you have no peace with food, when you have labels on food and food rules that are keeping you stuck. It's why in all of my coaching, we address making peace with food. We have that ability to start removing all of those labels. It actually makes, incorporating gentle nutrition easy. It makes it like natural. And it just kind of happens before, even in our group coaching, before we address gentle nutrition, it's already happening. Like my clients notice, like they're wanting that variety. They're wanting that balance. Their body is saying, hey, what else could I have and add into, my daily, my weekly meals that would really be delicious, high in nutrients, and make me feel amazing? I love that. I love it when it happens so naturally like that. Now, here's the thing. There is nothing about perfection. There's nothing about you need to be doing everything I just said to a T and check it off the list. No. Intuitive eating isn't about pass or failing. It isn't about, getting a grade and a mark that you have done things the quote unquote right way. It is about compassion and peace and honoring your overall health, meaning emotional, physical, mental, spiritual health. Progress is beautiful. Perfection is not what we're striving for. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, I have a waitlist open. It is VIP for a reason because I'm really giving all the goods to the VIP waitlist. I did this last time and these ladies love it. So I'm offering that to you. If you're like, okay, even trying to think about these 10 principles during the holidays is feeling a little overwhelming, it could just be a gentle nudge, that gentle sign that it's time to press into the work a little deeper. Go into the show notes, get on that VIP waitlist. I have some amazing things coming for that list exclusively. Yes, sometimes things are fun just to be exclusive. I'll tell you, I sat in an exclusive line to get in a line for tickets to Taylor Swift. I'm like, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. Like, I really, really want this, so I'm going to wait my turn and get in there, hopefully ahead of time to get those tickets so I can go see her with my daughters. That's the same thing. You can head to healthcoachforlife.com/group coaching. I know I'm not Taylor Swift and I'm not as fancy as her, and I definitely can't sing, but I like when you get all the bonus things and all the extras. All right, here's to a peaceful, intuitive, wonderful holiday season. See you back here next week.